You may be seated. If you have been following the World Cup, you know that host country Russia has won its way into the quarterfinals for the first time since 1970. Ranked 70th in the world rankings, Russia surprised the soccer world when the team beat Spain this week to advance. While there are many technical reasons why Russia is winning, effort, talent, coaching, strategy, luck, most sports fans would also conclude home field advantage. In sports, we expect teams to win at home. In college basketball, for example, 351 schools participate at the Division I level, and only 15 of those schools have losing records at home over the past 10 years. You don't want to play Gonzaga in Seattle, or Kentucky in Lexington, or Wisconsin in Madison. These teams win close to 90% of their home basketball games. Teams obviously play better in their home turf than they do when they're on the road. It helps a team to be in familiar surroundings with fans who support and encourage you and they invest in you and they cheer for you, motivating you and taking pride in you. These fans give teams that home court advantage. So what's up with Jesus this morning? He's back home, only he's not feeling the love you would expect. No home court advantage here, which is surprising indeed. After all, his ministry is off to a strong start, and I would suspect he's eager to share his success with all those people who have raised him. And that's not just his immediate family, but that's all those in the small town of Nazareth who helped Jesus as a toddler. It takes a village, after all. The teenage girl who babysat Jesus when Mary and Joseph treated themselves to a night at the movies. The neighbor who hired Jesus to mow his lawn when Jesus was trying to earn some spending money in middle school. The basketball coach at Nazareth High who taught Jesus how to defend the low post. The rabbi in the local synagogue who was the first to teach Jesus the 10 Commandments. Jesus was their son too. So of course when he visits Nazareth, we would expect him to be greeted with open arms and with hugs and kisses, with handshakes, and I would suspect even a few autograph seekers. He was making a name for himself, and Nazareth as well. Just go back to those Bible's years and check out what Jesus has been doing on the road. A paralyzed man is now running the dusty roads around Capernaum to prepare for this prestigious Jerusalem marathon this fall. Simon's mother-in-law, once gravely ill with a fever, is now baking cookies for the 4th of July picnic. The man once thought possessed with a demon and living in caves outside of Gerasa is now at home with his family. And Jairus' daughter, if you remember, nearly dead a week ago, is jumping rope with her friends. She's texting boys. A hometown boy has done good. And now that he's back in his home court, you would expect the crowd to be cheering for number one. Tickets to hear him preach in the synagogue would have sold out weeks ago, because everyone takes credit for what a fine young man Jesus is turning out to be. A fine young man, that is, until he opens his mouth. They're disappointed from the start, but they know he'll get better. The way it feels when you're watching the visiting team score the first 10 points on your home court. You get a little nervous, but you still have hope that, by the start of the fourth quarter, they're going to take it away. But only you get to the start of the fourth quarter, and then it's the middle part of the fourth quarter, and you can't see any way that your hometown hero is going to pull this one off. Is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon, and are not his sisters with us? They ask each other leaving the synagogue early to beat the traffic home. They know darn well whose son he is, but by calling him Mary's son, they cast doubt on his parentage. The only reason to identify Jesus by his mother was because no one knew for sure the identity of his father, which turns the question into a slur. And then, for the first time, and the only time, Jesus is unable to do any kind of healing that he has done everywhere else. It's also the last time Jesus ever preaches in a synagogue. His own people reject him. Prophets are not without honor except in their hometown and among their own kin and in their own house, he says, remembering his Sabbath school lessons and God's warning to the prophet Ezekiel about rejection and rebellion among his own people. Amazed by their unbelief, but undeterred in his mission, Jesus and his disciples leave Nazareth to let his light shine somewhere else. Now, don't you think for a second that this is just another quaint Bible story frozen in time about Nazarenes and Jesus. No. Now, this is very much a story about all of us. We are his hometown people. St. Mark's is Jesus' home court this morning. And we remain Jesus' toughest audience. You and I have already heard him speak so many times that his words no longer unsettle us or inspire us. They no longer challenge us or feed us or change us. We have heard it all, and we have made up our minds. We know what's right and what's wrong. And we come to church today seeking evidence for our beliefs, support for minds we have already made up. I know what God thinks, and I certainly don't need Jesus to tell me what to believe. I stand firm in the traditions of my faith. I know better than to be fooled by anyone, including our hometown boy named Jesus, who breaks all the rules of our beliefs. After all, Jesus has the gall to welcome sinners. Jesus says that God's love expands beyond the walls and the boundaries that we have set, and loves those others we don't even like. Jesus opens his arms to slovenly prodigals. Jesus breaks all the rules of our beliefs when he speaks to and eats with and honors with dignity those already condemned to hell by the chief priests and the elders, the ones who stand by their beliefs and never speak to or eat with or honor with dignity those who don't fit into their well-constructed plan for salvation. Jesus breaks all the rules of our beliefs when he travels across the Sea of Galilee and sails straight into the hearts of Gentiles, people who are beneath the Jews. They're the bad apples. They're the worthless outsiders who can never be insiders with God, like you and me. Jesus breaks all the rules of our beliefs when he forgives and forgives and forgives again and again and again, and then dies on that cross to free us from the hardened beliefs that keep us fighting among ourselves and fighting with others about who's in and who's out. Beliefs, Jesus says, that have nothing to do with God and nothing to do with love. Mark tells us that Jesus could do very little in Nazareth. Why? Why could Jesus do so little among the people who thought they knew him best? Among the people who were so sure that they were right? Is it because they didn't need Jesus after all? Or is it because their beliefs made it impossible for them to receive the power of Jesus to love them and to make them well? Jesus never changes. He is the same person in their presence as he is in the presence of everyone else that he has met. He has the power to share with them, only he can't do anything with that power because they won't let him. Their beliefs and ideas about God are set in stone, and it doesn't matter what he says. They've already decided whatever it is that challenges them, Jesus is wrong. They know more than Jesus. End of conversation. Nothing Jesus says or does is going to change what they already believe about God. Have you ever taken a lit match to a pile of, wet newspapers or wet kindling or straw for a fire? It doesn't matter how strong the flame, it won't light. What you need is something that will catch fire. Well, Jesus holds that match in Nazareth until it burns his fingers. I imagine it stings because he knows that he cannot light the hearts on fire and change them with the certainty of their rigid beliefs into a life-giving, life-changing relationship with a living God who is love. And the same holds true for us. Do you and I even hear Jesus any longer? Are you willing to open your eyes and ears, your hearts and your minds to him? Are you willing to read this big old Bible of yours and hear Jesus speak something new to you? Something that might actually shake the foundation of what you have already decided you believe is true? Are you willing to admit that you might be wrong and give Jesus kind of a second chance, another look? Are you able to stand in the light of that burning match and be set afire with love, with Jesus' love? I hope so. Because I don't want Jesus to get away again. I want to live together with people who believe in him and where his light shines with the brightness of a living and loving God who challenges our beliefs and sets us on fire with love. Amen.